Hi everyone, welcome back to Cut to the Cheese. Today I'm reviewing another really awesome cookbook, which is the Friends cookbook. I'm very excited because I'm a big fan of the show. If you can't already tell, this is my lovely Pottery Barn Central Perk mug and I love it to bits. In fact, I already owned one and one of my friends gifted another one of these during Christmas, so now I have two, which is nice to have. Okay, so let's get started. The recipe I have chosen today is the chocolate chip cookies the French way. Now, when I started looking at the recipe, I thought it was going to be simple, but this is anything but. It is actually a bit more involved. What I love about the recipe is because I know this about the chocolate chip cookies I've made in the past, especially the ones from Bon Appetit. This recipe also starts off with brown butter, which I quite like because the flavor is quite adult-like and it's not just a simple cookie dough that you could even get from the supermarket. This is really special. Anytime I've tried a brown butter recipe, it has always been amazing. So I'm excited to try this. I will take you in my kitchen and we will go over the ingredients and get started. And before we do that, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. And if you have any specific requests for any cookbooks, any recipes you want me to review, just let me know. I have got all of the ingredients here laid down, everything I need to make lovely chocolate cookies from the Friends cookbook. The first thing I have done is brown the butter, and I'm going to insert the clip right away so you can see how I did it. And I've already put it in the fridge for about 40 to 60 minutes, and I'm going to mix the sugars now. As usual, you can do this recipe in your mixer or you can do it by hand the way I'm going to do, just because I don't think it's going to make a big difference. So, can you see the little specks of brown in the butter? That's exactly what you want. I am going to start by creaming my sugars in this. Oh. Let's stir this. You want it to be like light and creamy, like every cookie recipe, but remember that because we already melted and browned the butter, it's just not going to have the exact same texture as a normal softened butter would. You could use a whisk, but I feel like using a spatula is just using the paddle attachment in your KitchenAid, so it should be all right regardless. And I'm again going to stir it for about 20 to 30 seconds after each egg because you want everything to be equally incorporated. So the interesting thing about this recipe is that it uses orange zest and vanilla extract, so it's going to have an intense orange flavor. And to enhance that, again, The recipe only mentions to use 12 ounces of chocolate, anything which is 70% cocoa, which is what I'm using. I'm mixing Intense Dark with some chocolate orange because this will sort of just reinstate that flavor of chocolate and orange, which was just my addition to the recipe. I do actually quite like chocolate and orange as a combination, not as much in a non-festive time of the year, but because the recipe calls for it, I think that would be nice. Okay, now it says to add vanilla extract at this stage. Again, I don't usually measure vanilla extract, but I'm just going to go with it. Now this, the one that I'm using, I bought from Gibson's in the UAE, and it is alcohol free if you're interested. Smells really good. I usually always do a bit of vanilla powder as well because it just has a stronger flavor. So just a little touch of that. And that's that. Now, another addition of flavor that I'm going to do is have the zest of half an orange. Again, I think this is a very personalized part of the recipe. If you don't like orange, skip it. If you want to use mint, you could add mint extract here. What else goes with chocolate? A lot of things. Maybe if you want to do almond extract, that'd be nice here. Maybe you could even substitute it with some of the almond flour. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mixing the flour, which is the next step, and incorporate my flour and baking soda mixture. Again, I'm not going to overwhelm the dough. Most cookie doughs are quite stiff, so I'm just going to do it slowly. Again, my only one qualm about the recipes in this book is that they are in cups, and cups measurement tend to be a bit tricky to nail because everybody's cup measurement instruments are weighed differently. So before I finish this off, let me cut up my chocolate and start adding it in chunks. I'm someone who doesn't really enjoy cutting chocolate, but I'm guessing everybody's pretty divided on that. So I'm just gonna do this before I break it down and open the bag. I'm just gonna cut it in chunks like this, and that's gonna be good. Now, and this also requires, I guess, a bit of less cleanup if I'd done it right. I like big chunks, so I don't mind. Another one of my favorite tools is a French scraper, so I'll just usually do that. And again, that makes cleanup and transferring so much easier. And I'm just doing this because I quite like to know where my chocolate chunks are going in my cookies. So this would just make sure that it adheres to the rest of the flour. Ooh, things are getting heavy in here. Now, adding the chocolate chunks. And this is the thing, right? If you're not someone who bakes as often as I do when it comes to cookies or any other things, you probably wouldn't know that doing this trick is going to be useful. However, if you do know that, change the recipes that you're looking at according to the way you want them. I prefer doing it this way because I know how the cookie, the chunks of the chocolate are going to be mixed in. And that's just something I prefer. If you don't want that, don't do it. But if you have extra knowledge in the recipe, just add it to the recipe yourself. So I have just finished putting the cookies in the oven, and let's discuss the cookbook. Before we get into it, let's address the elephant in my room, my Christmas tree. It is the 8th or the 9th of January. I've lost all track of time and I don't really care because this year is looking as grim as last year. Regardless, I cleared up most of the ornaments yesterday. I still have a few more decorations to take. I've seen so many people trying to do a massive clear out, but I was on holiday for the last 2 weeks because I had off from work, so I've already done that. The only thing I need to take away is my Christmas tree and some of the decorations in the living room. But I'm keeping them on until I want to feel better and feel festive, so yeah. Anyways, moving on to the recipe. Now, this cookbook is a big jump from Claire Safford's cookbook that I tried last week. It's pretty simple. And this is definitely one that is friendly for the home cook, someone who's just trying out new recipes, wants something simple, and just it's easy to follow. There aren't complicated steps. Like I said, the only problem I have with this cookbook is the fact that it only has US measurement in cups. And I do know that they have some recipes like pizza doughs and scones. For things like that, I like more specific measurements. I do think you can get away with it in cookies and to a certain extent in like non-complicated cakes, but something like Angel's Food Cake or trying to make macarons on cup measurements is just not something I like to personally do. With that said, the cookies so far were easy to do, very, very simple, can do them in my sleep. And I still think that the quality of recipes in the book is genuine. I had a feeling that with more sort of, well, I like to say gimmicky cookbooks like these that are built on a franchise, they tend to just sort of overuse the words and just be great in terms of, you know, it's a fun read, it's nice to look at, it's a novelty item, but this cookbook is genuinely useful. But definitely a great cookbook for one of the home cooks, and I don't think a professional chef would look at this and think that this is very involved or even challenging. But this is why I personally like it, because they're easier recipes. I can whip them up whenever I want, and this is quite user-friendly. So highly recommend if you are a big fan of the book. If you know someone who's a big fan of the book, it's a great gifting item as well. I would also highly recommend it to someone who wants to try some baking recipes but don't want to spend hours doing something and doesn't want something very involved and difficult and complicated. But yeah, I hope you've liked that review of this particular cookbook. Next week, I'm going to come back in with one of the original recipes that I'm working on and I'm quite excited to share with you. The next you see me, you will see the cookies. and I'll tell you what they taste like. I think they're going to be fantastic. But yeah, we're going to try that right after this. This is what the cookies look like. I have stacked 3 large ones on top of each other. They are delicious. Highly, highly recommend everybody trying this recipe and experiencing how delightful these cookies are. Obviously, you can make them a lot smaller than these, but I really like them. Those cookies were really, really good. And I cannot wait to try more of these recipes in the future. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe it. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.